Would you come with a new political agenda, a new political agenda which is inclusive, less totally not divisive, and trying to protect the public interest? A welfare state where everybody is happy. A distant goal, a welfare state in India. I mean, I know that from the broad contours of a welfare state in the preamble, we have gone for the caring state. But there are people who are really in misery, absolute misery.
But don't you think the present agenda reflects that?
No, what I'm trying to say is that
he doesn't subscribe to you.
No. I think there is nothing new about it. It has already been the agenda of
what I'm trying to say is that Communist Party, Marxist Party, associating themselves with progressive forces, bringing the democratic socialist parties together on a common minimum program, give us a dream of a new India that goes without destroying this. They are going to change this constitution. We must die for this. They cannot touch the 1950 constitution because the basic characteristics and the promise of a dream. This is something inviolable.
Dr. Alexander, I think I need to add to you. Basically, I mean, he's saying that, do you have a dream which you can encompass the masses of different sections?
We must have a dream.
Second thing, whether it is a lack of dream or whether the dream which you can't sell it, that's the issue now.
What is the dream? What is the thing that you have? What is it that we want to preserve, and on what do we want to build further? Now, this is a much larger philosophical question about what is the idea of India. Now, India as a nation doesn't exist in my opinion. Nation is what the Westphalian Treaty defines, nation and sovereignty, which is what your United Nations treaties are all about, international law and all that today. But that is about a majoritarianism within the nation and a minority. Majority expression is nationalism. This is the product of the European medieval, the treaties of Westphalia that come. No, India and the freedom movement transcended all that. We were talking about integration of people belonging to different nationalities, different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds, etc. A multinational unification, integration of a country. Now, in such a country, this is the only basis on which that country can exist. That's the Constitution of India. And that is why it was a product of that process. Who people you have in power today are those who were never product of that struggle. Now, in the freedom movement, you had three mainstreams. One was the then Congress leading it, talked about a secular democratic republic. Then you had the left. I was not born, but when there was the left, which were talking of saying secular democratic republic in itself is not sufficient, unless you transform the political independence of every Indian into economic independence. This secular democratic republic itself cannot sustain. That is what the left was talking about. Therefore, economic independence, socialism. I mean, that's how it extended. These were not antagonistic to each other. But these were very, very important difference between the two of how India can be consolidated and progress. But the antagonistic vision came where? Twin expression. The Muslim League talking of an Islamic state, the RSS talking of the Hindu Rashtra. Neither of them believed in this concept of the idea of India. Their point was the religious ordering of the Indian people. Now, once Pakistan was formed, the grouse that if Pakistan could have a Muslim state, Islamic state, why is India denied the Hindu Rashtra? The first victim was Mahatma Gandhi. Saying, I mean, why you did that? Now, that battle didn't stop there, it's continuing till date. That is what, today when you say that this constitution is what they want to get rid of, it's the continuation of the same battle. And that is why, to stop that, you would require, like in the freedom struggle, all those who believed in that idea of India coming together to isolate these forces.
Only you wanted to ask.
That is what has to happen.
So, comrade, I have two observations to make and one question. It's very simple. So, we have been hearing a lot about the gap between imagination and reality, and a theme of failure is being reiterated. You know, it is very natural when we talk about the left movement, always people say, failure, and especially after the breakdown of Soviet Union. So, my point is, this gap between imagination and reality will always be there. Let it be there. Because a Marxist who cannot dream is no Marxist. Number one. Number two, post-Soviet Union, we hear Marxism is dead. But people keep on saying that. That shows that Marxism is alive. If something is dead, you don't have to repeatedly say that it is dead, dead always. So those two things. Secondly, I'm a bit worried about, that Mahabharata analogy you were referring to, and this young man asking about a Sanskrit shloka. Yeah. It shows the unconscious, ideological framework within which we address contemporary issues. It has already been set there by the Hindutva ideology. So we, however far left we are bound to repeat it.
Exactly. I'd like to make two comments, and one of them is a very serious thought, which, since all of you are very enlightened people, I would also like you to help me in trying to come to a conclusion. I mean, help not only me, the entire society. One is that, you cannot be a communist without dreaming.
Yeah.
But I would say you cannot be a communist without having a vision. Dream is also an escapism, sometimes.
No,
sometimes.
It depends on how you define
vision,
it.
Yes, agree.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining that you're saying
dream is not a derogatory word.
No, but it cannot be.
As a filmmaker, I sell dreams.
Correct. Yeah. Without dreaming, you can't make a film. I believe. I don't know. What you were talking of, the insidious thing, I would like to pose a question to all of you. Tell me, that German philosophy was the most enlightened philosophy of the 19th century. It had continued its influence through the 20th century. For 2 whole centuries, that philosophy was the one that guided human civilization. Karl Marx itself, one of the components of Marxism is German philosophy. French socialism and English political economy apart. Now, somebody brought up in the tradition of dialectics, somebody brought up in that consciousness. How did those people internalize and accept fascism in the 1930s? What happened to that people's consciousness? Now, that is what is happening here. And I think George Lukács is the only one who documented this in a book called The Destruction of Reason. And this is what is happening. There is a constant assault of irrationality on rationality, a constant assault of unreason on reason. And when unreason and irrationality triumphs, these are the questions. What you are talking of, your denominator false. Today, tell me, how many people are asking that on what basis are you saying that Lord Rama was born in Ayodhya at that place? 20 years ago, on Advani's Rath Yatra, people used to ask that question. Today you don't. That is how the denominator is being lowered. And you reach a level where the lawyers who are supposed to defend the delivery of justice stand up in defense of the criminal in the Kathua child rape case. Now, this is the dehumanization of our society. And please understand, this is a very, very scary thing that is happening to India.
Dr. Gurikal, you want
that is the point.
One second. The question one anxiety I wanted to express is that, are you aware that I've been working in the trade union movement for the past 10 years among the cine workers. Recently, there is a verdict from Competition Commission of India saying that collective bargaining is illegal.
Yeah?
Collective bargaining.
There in the constitution.
I have that verdict with me. See the way the labor laws are now flouted and rewritten. So if this is applied, then
that is why the urgency to stop this government and this.
Dr. Gurikal, you wanted to.
I would like to add one point which is untouched as yet. This is the question of the leftist concept of development. Now, it seems that capitalist development, which is using the magical word development, has bamboozled all the people, including progressivists, giving the impression that development includes all the dreams of the left as well. I think it's high time we aggressively deconstructed the term development, because so far, as a student of social science, I have been seeing a clearly defined leftist concept of development. Of course, during the People's Campaign in Kerala, Comrade EMS had defined it, and then some social scientists carried the idea forward, but somehow it once again got subsumed by the dominant development paradigm. don't you think that it is time for the left to put up a very clear concept of development which is entirely antithetical to the capitalist notion of development?
Of course, sir. I mean, I thought the left has always put up, because our development is an inclusive development, whereas capitalist development by definition is an exclusive development, where the development happens only by greater squeezing and greater intensification of exploitation. And that is the point. Today when you talk of development, take 2017, all the additional wealth that was added in India. Okay, GST and demonetization made sure that we didn't add much wealth in 2017, but even all the additional wealth added, 73% of that additional went to 1% of our population. That is also development. And for them it's mega development for that 1%. I mean, they've grown well. So development is what? For whom? That is the point. That has been a fundamental this thing of the left all along. But you're right, maybe in today's conditions, that paradigm of how you're putting it, that will have to, that is what we are trying to do. I mean, whether all these struggles of the working class or the struggles of the peasantry or the Bombay long march that you had now, is all talking about only that paradigm, the term called development. Development for whom?
That's
Development for
essence,
Nirav Modi's, Adani's, Ambani's, or development for the people who actually produce the food on the basis of which the country lives.
Saraswati, you have a quick question?
There is a perception, false maybe, or that the left is anti-progress, and that's being sold heavily to the people.
Anti-development.
Anti-development and anti-progress. So if you're not, if on the other hand, we encourage people to make money, to dream big, and all these IT dreams are sold to them. So how does one, tell them that what, because if you go to really to what is happening to people, they're not really happy in the strictly utopian sense. But how do you tell the people that what is development and what is progress need not be equal to what is being touted?
Essentially, I mean, you are not, responding to the aspirations of the middle class. There's a middle class that is coming up. Whereas,
it's being sold to them that the left is
anti-middle.
Yeah, but I would like to know how do they characterize as anti? Maybe I also want to understand, because anti-crony capitalism, anti-making money by default, anti-making money by stealing and looting public assets, that is not anti-development, no.
But I don't think the message has gone.
That is the whole...
That's a perception, Saraswati, you and me make.
No,
as
but
part
the
of the
message
media.
has not gone out to the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Brittas. See, the problem
Prabhash?
is there's a lot of
You
consumerism
agree with
and
her?
people
There is
see
a
that.
perception?
Flashy consumerism.
Left is an obstacle for progress.
For the middle class aspirations. You don't cater to the aspirations of the middle class, which need a lot of sophisticated gadgets. You are against that. I mean, all these things are being
We are
discussed.
not against that. We are telling them it will be useless.
Since the issue of middle class has been brought in,
Yeah.
I have a point to make. How will you address that? I mean, already we spoke about a multi-class platform and things like that. Take, for example, the middle class. The middle class in India is the most privatized middle class in the world.
Privatized?
Yeah, privatized. They never depend on the state for public transport or for anything. They depend on private provision. And so how are we going to, and it's also a consumerist class. And how are you going to address that middle class problematic?
And they have a huge say in the public opinion build-up also. That also is very important. Yeah.
They are the opinion makers, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But the question is, you're right, sir. I mean, the middle class, for it to play a role of a middle class in a meaningful sense, must also be a part of a system of where there will be a public system. The people who use least your public transport facilities are the middle class. Yeah. Now, this is I mean, you will find even in the most developed countries that you go, I mean, you find the CEO of a major executive company in London will still take the tube and travel. Right. But you will never find that with our, I'm sorry to say, your IAS officer or your CEO or your police officer.
And there is also a difference between old middle class and new middle class.
Yeah, because
old middle class, they depend on the state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
but when we are talking of the opinion maker, which is the higher middle class.
Yes,
No,
Saraswati,
even the upper middle class, say about 25 years ago, Dr. Alexander would know, all of us travel by KSRTC buses, we use public transport. There was nothing like, that the upper middle class will not use the public facilities. We studied in government schools, we used public transport, but cut to 2018, you will find that they're completely two different segments in
but
society.
at that time, Saraswati, there were no private schools.
Yeah, shall
If
I-
at all there was private school, you would have gone to private school.
There were private schools.
I beg to differ with
Yeah.
you.
No, there were private schools.
No, no, and secondly, I mean, that whole mindset and value system did not come, which came associated with globalization. I mean, now making the quick buck is the index of success.
Unprincipled.
The fast buck.
Unprincipled.
Yeah, principle is not the question. Principle is
But
not at
Jacob
all.
wants you to be little unprincipled, that's the thing. To make a few bucks in the parliament, he wants you to be little unprincipled.
Yeah, that's
What's your question? Yeah.
My question is how long we have to wait for a Dalit representation in the Politburo?
Yes, that is something I also share with you. I am also disappointed that we'll have to make amends for that. We'll have to correct it. And that is something which we are trying to do, and I'm sure very soon you will see the.
Yeah. Next question.
Comrades Jyoti Basu and EMS and Surjit, how much percentage is within you?
Oh,
You had-
considering
you-
EMS, what could be the ratio of percentage of Jyoti Basu, EMS and Surjit in you?
You had worked with-
His
What is
question
the
is that
percentage?
you have been working with these three legends. So what could be the percentage or ratio of their influence in you?
Let me tell you. Now you wanted example of Sanskrit this thing, no? I'll give you an example from the Chandogya Upanishad. You take a bowl of water, take 3 grains of salt, EMS, Surjit, Jyoti Basu. Put them in the water. And in the morning, what happens to the water? The grain of salt? They're all dissolved, no? Whichever side you drink the water, it will be salty. So all EMS, Surjit, Jyoti Basu, they're all intermingling. That is what the water is all about.
I think Saraswati or Jacob, journalists have to do that. What could be the, I mean, most important influence on him? Either Surjit, Jyoti Basu or EMS. Jacob?
I think, of course, Surjit is there.
Surjit is more in you, that's what Jacob said.
He's more of a Surjit. Yeah, Saraswati
More
agrees
of
to me.
Surjit.
Saraswati, you also support him?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Comment Sitaram, you have no escape because
No, no, no.
eminent journalists.
Then I'll tell you what Jyoti Basu once told us. We were there in China. So one day in the table where we used to have a breakfast, dinner, etc. So suddenly Jyoti Basu said, "You are a dangerous man," to me. In a very jocular humor. So I said, "Why? What did I do?" He said, "To me you speak in Bengali. To Surjit you speak in Hindi, Punjabi. To Basavapunaya you speak in Telugu. To Sami, Balanandan.
Balanand, yeah.
He would speak in Malayalam and I'll answer in Tamil. So he said, none of us know what you are saying to the other person. So you are a dangerous chap, you can create a problem. So all that I can say is that I've imbibed from all these giants, you know. And like Newton said, that I have achieved what I have achieved because of standing on shoulders of giants. These are all giants on whose shoulders we are standing. So we hope.
Correct. I mean,
we
we have
achieve.
coming back to you, we have a very solid, very important input from none other than Kamal Hassan. He had a throat issue, so he sent a test to us and he wanted me to read it out to you. He sent it today. Please. Yeah. Namaskaram, Mr. Sitaram Yechuri. We are living in an unprecedented time where might is right and majoritarian sentiments quieten fair play and natural justice. A time when there is no distinction between liberals and leftists. My equipoise seems leftist to some, but I am a centrist and liberal thinker. Sir, is it not the time to lose our isms and work for the nation to gain back its equilibrium? I believe the time has come for the silent majority to stand up and be counted. Unlike in the past, there won't be any spoils to spare, only a good nation to be proud of, which is not what we have now. I believe a way out of this to empower the states. Let us work towards a federalist idea, more power for states. My dream. I am sure you have many more. Kamal Hassan, best wishes from Makkal Needhi Mayam. Yeah, he is heading a political party. But he still thought fit to address you, and of course it's his idea.
No, very nice of him, and I 100% share his thoughts and sentiments. And that is precisely what we have to do. And I remember also discussing with him earlier in one of his film releases in Delhi. There's an old saying, you see, for the evil to succeed, the good only has to remain silent.
Yeah.
And that's what all of us are doing. I mean, if you remain silent, they'll succeed. The point is that we have to come down to the earth and make sure that they don't succeed. And then we can talk of our spaces, etc. You're asking about Jawaharlal Nehru, what was the idea? I mean, all these things we can discuss only when we are able to today, safeguard what we have. So save India today in order to change India for the better. That is what should be the motto. And that's what I like Mr. Kamal Hassan, along with politics, also to continue with filmmaking.
Yeah.
You certainly must have been, you and the movement must have been making note of the weak points at which they are concentrating, our enemies of the present system. Naturally, to preserve ourselves, we like to find safeguards for this, preserving this system. One question I want to ask, I have the Hiran Pandey's case in mind, Sarabudin's case in mind, what is happening to the, elimination of key people. The next government, national government, should have the criminal justice system as a priority.
Which system?
Criminal justice system as a priority, so that it cannot be hijacked by somebody who comes to power and wants to protect one man, a judge is killed, a judge is transferred. So many false encounters and this thing. As a police officer, I know what is really happening in it.
I totally agree with you, sir. First, restore the constitutional order that we were talking about.
Exactly. To see that, even whatever it is Macaulay has written, it has served 100 years, 120 years.
No, but I am saying that is still the best base from which we can improve.
Absolutely.
I am not denying that.
Yeah.
I have my own criticisms and lacunae of this constitution.
Yeah.
But the point is, unless I preserve that, I cannot change it for the better.
Absolutely.
So that is the whole point.
Keeping in mind.
Now the priority is to preserve it.
Keeping in mind the weak points they have identified to destroy the present edifice. There must be serious thinking as to see that how we can safeguard our rich asset.
You also need to step in. You also have a responsibility.
Criminal justice system.
Which he has
That is why I
reminded
said, if the good remains silent,
yeah.
then there is no point. We can sit in a studio and analyze.
Actually,
come back to
after
Prabhash.
it all happened.
Actually, there is a system here. When EMS was the chief minister for the second time, he used to invite teachers, academics, even from bureaucrats, and you sit together and talk about issues.
You will have to invite them to Delhi.
I come to
I have one or two quick questions. Yeah.
പേഴ്സണൽ ചോദ്യമാണ്. താങ്കൾ ഒരു ചാർമിംഗ് പേഴ്സണാലിറ്റി ആണല്ലോ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അതിന്റെ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ ഒരു ചാർമിനാർ പേഴ്സണാലിറ്റിയാണ്. താങ്കൾ ആ ഈ സിഗരറ്റ് വലി നിർത്തുന്നതിനെ
He has asked a very special question. He says that you are a charming personality, but when are you going to stop the charms?
From my student days, all that was known in Sitaram's mouth, you'll always find a charm. The word pun is always there. So if I stop it, the charm will go away. No, but you are right. For health reasons, I should. There's no question.
What is your opinion about new labor union policies of Narendra Modi government?
Very bad.
Very wrong, very bad. They are not labor policies. They are anti-labor policies. Now the fixed rate employment. What has the system done? And Narendra Modi has made it worse. Today, only 6% of your working class today in India is organized workers. 94% are on contract, casual, temporary. You have no security, no future. And that security, that is a right that the Indian working class gained before this constitution came from the British. What a big struggles. That is why all of those rights are enshrined in the constitution. Today, all of them are being undermined. And today he is legalized, saying that even the public sector, even in your factories, you beyond 20 workers, you had to give them permanent employment. Now a new law, they brought in an ordinance.
Correct.
Abolishing it.
Prabhash, you wanted to ask a question.
What is the great lesson to be learned from Tripura?
I'm sorry?
Tripura. What is the
great
lesson
to be
you would
learned
learn
from
from Tripura?
The main lesson, sir, I would learn from there is the fact that what we are facing today is not merely a choice that is based on a democratic platform. In a democratic platform, you contest, I contest, we are at an equal level. We'll argue, let people decide. But what we today have is a monster that has disfigured the system, whereby right from political funding to the usage of your force, to the usage of violence, to the usage of the most opportunistic elements, that they managed to create a situation in Tripura where there is a one-to-one contest. in everywhere in the country, they talk of patriotism. But they will go and join hands with a tribal organization that wants to separate part of Tripura from India for electoral benefit. They have no scruples. They have no principles of that. That is what we are got to face. We are learning it the hard way. The mistakes we committed.
This is what Jacob was telling.
Yes, that's what I
said.
You are
That's what I said,
confronting
that's what-
forces without any principles.
Yes, but
So how
that's
are you
what I
going to? I
asked.
mean,
No, I'm only repeating what he wanted, but in Tripura's context, it becomes more graphic. I mean, it becomes very graphic. Yes, there are shortcomings in our part, being there for 25 years, a whole new generation who were born after our government was there. They have not seen any change. For them, democracy means nothing. The same government keeps coming back. So, I mean, the urge for change is there. All that apart. But what we are facing is an anti-democratic monster. And that is the danger that is happening in our country. And that is what we have to fight, and that can only happen when all the like-minded people come together.
I have a question. See, the face of the the working class in Kerala is changing, has changed a lot. The working class, the workers in Kerala do not speak Malayalam, they speak Bengali. There are people from Bengal, Northeast and all. See, 23% of the workers, people working in Technopark Trivandrum, 23%, they are sons and daughters of ordinary working class in Kerala. That's because of the aspiration levels. The aspiration level in Kerala is on the highest level. So they send their children to good schools, they bring them good education. They become technocrats, engineers, doctors and all. And the workforce, the working class is not from Kerala, they are from outside. So how will a party like CPM address this issue, which is grave, I think?
Well, you're right. I mean, for various factors, I don't want to go into it, remittances coming in from here. The character of the people in Kerala has been moving upward mobility. There's an upward mobility, and along with upward mobility, there's always an aspirational rise. So, but the meeting of those aspirations, that is where the problems will arise. Now, the global situation is also not such that these aspirations will be met. Modi government and its pro-US policies and the US-Israel-India axis that is coming in, what will be the reaction of all these Gulf countries to India? That will be a big question mark. And I'm really, honestly speaking, I'm very apprehensive of how that will affect Kerala as a whole. It will be a great, I mean, it will be a huge impact. It will have at Kerala. Now, these are all the uncertain question marks. So, your aspiration levels are rising, but the capacity to realize those aspirations is declining. Now, that is a serious problem.
Don't you think that this is a shift of class character? This happened in the history of Kerala as well. When the peasants struggled, then the Communist Party was really growing, and then the second generation, through communist peasant struggles, they got the land and their entire material basis underwent changes. With the result, the next generation, they all joined Congress. If this is the process, Kerala Congress and all sorts of things, if this is the process, that when there is a real development in life, then there is a withdrawal from the Communist Party because there is no need of it. See, how will we overcome this kind of a predicament?
Yes, sir. You are absolutely right. In communist parlance and in our experience, there is a thing called the Palghat experience.
Yeah.
which is what exactly describes what you were telling me. So that is something that is a challenge before us, that as soon as the class interests are satisfied, then there is naturally a consciousness that moves away. But that has to be stopped, and that can only be consolidated through also conducting, along with these class struggles for land, etc., also an ideological educational struggle to raise the levels of consciousness. That is what the lesson of Palghat experience for us is, that you have to combine both. Otherwise, you're right. Yesterday I had no land, I was with the communists. Today I have land, therefore I don't need the communists. That simple thing will come. That will have to be overcome only through an ideological.
Actually, in Palghat, the party made a very agonizing choice. of remaining with the Karshaka Torilali, the agriculture worker, and not with the small farmer. It's the right choice. With the next elections, the party strength improved there.
Correct. I mean, because that is the basic exploited section. No, that is the thing.
I think we had, you wanted, yeah, please.
വർഷങ്ങളായി ആണെങ്കിൽ ഈ നമ്മുടെ CPM പാർട്ടി ആണെങ്കിൽ ഓരോ മീറ്റിംഗ്സ് കണ്ടക്ട് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നു, പോളിസീസ്, സ്ട്രാറ്റജീസ്, ടാക്ടിക്സ് എല്ലാം ഡെവലപ്പ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ എന്നിട്ടും ഒരു വർഷം കഴിയും തോറും ഒരു സംസ്ഥാനം പോലും നമുക്ക് CPI റൂൾ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. അപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥം എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ആ ടാക്ടിക്സ്, ആ സ്ട്രാറ്റജീസ് എല്ലാം ഒബ്സൊലീറ്റ് ആയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പം ഈ CPM കാണുന്ന ഒബ്സർവേഷൻ്റെ ആ വ്യൂ ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യേണ്ടതല്ലേ?
He is saying that you have so much of tactics, strategy sessions, planning everything which happens annually and as part of your Congress, but in reality, the left is declining. So there is fundamentally some problem with your tactics or, strategy.
No, good question.
No, he's saying it's
And if
become
this,
obsolete. Isn't the time be
And
changed?
by the time you need to confront the situation, your strategy which has been adopted or the tactics becomes obsolete.
You see, this whether left is weakening or left is strengthening itself must not be measured only by one measure of electoral successes. Electoral success is one measure. The other measure is the political intervention capacity through people's struggles that can influence and shape the agenda of the country. Now, if you look at it from one angle, electoral angle, you are right, we are weakened. And that's an important element. I am not discounting the importance of that. That's very important in a parliamentary democracy. But on the other hand, in terms of the people's struggles and the impact of the struggles on the national politics, etc., those have been on the rise. The working class, last 3 years, there have been huge, all India industrial strikes and the big Geraw of the parliament, last 3 years, year after year. You have the peasant struggles now.
The long march.
The long march was finally forcing BJP state governments to actually accept some of the demands. We'll have to wait and see how much they fulfill or not. The peasantry was on the rise. For the first time after many decades, you have the slogan of Lal Neel today, or lalsalam Jai Bhim, that is coming up, where the integration of the Dalit movement with the left, that is taking place in a big way, and particularly in Maharashtra and in northern India. That is happening in a big way, and we have this now, the Bahujan left front formed in Telangana, where all the socially oppressed groups and the left are coming together. Then you had this huge movement against intolerance and the awards being returned after Dabulkar, Pansare and Kalburgi, and now later Gauri Lankesh's murders. So you find various sections of the people now coming together, which were under a left, it's not that under our leadership, I don't want to claim that, otherwise this won't happen. They're all coming together where the left is playing a very important role, and the basic struggles of the people, peasantry, the working class are growing. Now that is influencing the country's agenda. That is the other element. So we'll have to keep both of that in mind when you evaluate that whether we are weakening or we are gaining. So once you do that, but electoral gain also has to come, as I told you earlier, that you cannot walk on one leg of economic exploitation. Then you can't walk. You simply can't move forward unless we integrate both. That is when the people get confidence that voting for the communists is also important, not only joining the struggles led by the communists. And that consciousness will have to create, and that I am sure in the coming period of the 3 years that will happen, because the reality in India is such.
Quick question from the audience. Yeah, please.
Before independence and also after independence, fascism is here. So now how will you define fascism in India?
What do we mean by fascism? Fascism is a post-capitalist phenomenon. Fascism is not the old type of the autocratic dictatorship of a feudal order by the feudal kings of the past. That is not fascism. That is feudal, feudal autocracy. That was, the methods may be similar. That's a different thing. That fascism is not only one trademark. It can come. You had fascism in Japan at the same time. They were Hitler's allies. That was a feudal society then. So what was that form of fascism? That also you'll have to study. Your moral policing, what you eat, what you wear, who is your friend, whom will you marry, love jihad. These are all fascistic, methods. But because these methods exist, it's not fascism as a system yet.
I think we will have a separate class on fascism and you should definitely come and participate in that.
ഒരു ആഹാരപ്രിയനാണല്ലോ. കേരളത്തിൽ ഏറ്റവും ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട ഭക്ഷണം ഏതാണ്?
Puttu I like very much. Puttu kadali I like very much.
Puttu and kadala. But you like fish also?
Of course fish. Who doesn't like fish?
That's the thing. But do you have any plan to take him out for dinner or what? I thought when the question came.
Plans to stay put.
Put, okay. Anyway, I mean, let me just thank all of you. I am sure we can. I think that's a note on which we need to wind up this very lively debate. Let me be very thankful to all these panelists who have contributed. And Comrade Sitaram, Yechuri, you have been very kind to spend your valuable time. And the audience also. And I think we will have opportunities in future also to have you in the midst of such enlightened souls to, have a discourse about Indian politics and also your thought on various topics.
Thank you.
And let me be thankful to B. Unnikishan, Dr. P.J. Alexander, Saraswati Nagaraj, Dr. Rajan Gurukal, J. Prabhash and Jacob George, and also the audience. Once again, thank you very much.